Good morning. I'm Howard Green, and welcome to VCU RRTC's Brown Bag series on research and action. We've learned over the past several years that work supports are important to ensuring success for workers with disabilities. And it's also important for all workers who are working in business. These supports can be initiated by government, by business, and by employees themselves. VCU has several studies that document that businesses have learned that by making accommodations and providing workplace supports, it is good for business. Technology has allowed businesses to start thinking about workers with disabilities in a whole new way. You're about to see a short 15-minute presentation from a company who has taken technology and their employees to new heights. They are beginning to address the employment of people with disabilities in new ways. That company is Walgreens. Many of the companies we have learned from are companies like Walgreens. Many of the outcomes we have learned from the VCU program of research can be found in Walgreens' model. They have implemented a successful employment model for people with disabilities. Other companies are now using Walgreens' model and experience and wisdom to create similar programs to assist people with disabilities in the workplace. The success has been a great example of a public-private partnership, as well as exploring new uses for job supports, such as workplace accommodations, on-site job coaches, and helping to increase worker productivity and helping with job retention. But as you'll see from this video, you will learn that a diverse and integrated workforce is a powerful workforce. Walgreens has learned that lesson. We asked Randy Lewis, the Vice President for Distribution Centers in Walgreens, to share a few words about their model, and Mr. Lewis will share with you the wisdom as well as some of the outcomes they have achieved since opening up their new distribution center in Anderson, South Carolina. I toured the distribution center back in June, and I can tell you it is the real deal. We hope you enjoy the presentation, and we want to thank Randy Lewis, Deb Russell, and all the fine folks at Walgreens for helping us and sharing their experiences and their wisdom and their success. So we hope you enjoy it, and we look forward to you posting your comments on the web board. Thank you so much.
Our idea to hire large numbers of persons with disabilities into our distribution centers began to take shape in 2005. What follows is a speech I gave that year to an audience of more than 5,000 Walgreens store managers about that initiative. Although a few details of the plan have changed, the goals and strategy have not. What I'm here this morning to talk about is our new distribution center that we're building in South Carolina that's under construction now, and why it's important to us as a company, and why it's important even beyond the borders of our company. Well, it's going to be different on the inside too. When we looked at this distribution center and the type of automation we could put in, our traditional approach is to make it more interesting for folks like you and I. But this time we decided to take a little different approach. Instead of making it more interesting for folks like us, why don't we take it and use it to enable a group of people who would not otherwise be able to hold down a job? And by that, I'm talking about those with disabilities, severe disabilities, like mental retardation, autism, all types of physical disabilities. So that is our plan in this center. We're going to hire 600 people, and 200 of those are with very severe disabilities. Professionals tell us that they know of no other company that has ever done this, that this is unprecedented. So it's going to look different. It's going to be a little different. And it's taught us a lot about our systems. For example, you saw that technology, but the way the computer works with the person, we had to change that. For instance, this is a screen that we use today in our centers for that detrash operation that you saw. It's got about 14 function keys on it. It tells you when to start or not when to start. You can't tell. Well, guess what? We got rid of the keyboards, replaced those with touch screens. And this is what that current screen looks like today. When to do it, how to do the job. Which screen would you rather have and work with? And guess what we discovered? This makes it better for everyone. Now, why employ the disabled? In each of our distribution centers, we have some limited experience with the disabled. We probably have from 5 to 20 people in each one of our centers. And I was talking to one of our distribution center managers, Keith Scarborough, about how is it to work with people with disabilities. And he said, Randy, it's really great, because here's a group of people who come to work every day with a smile on their face. They go straight to work, they focus on the task to be done, and they don't worry what Bob said to them or how Sally looked at them. And when they leave with a smile. Hiring the disabled is a smart thing to do. But let me tell you another reason, a more personal reason. I have 3 children. Each of those is a blessing. My middle son, Austin, is autistic, and he has been a special blessing. He's taught me to celebrate the little victories. He's taught me an infinite amount of patience, and he's taught me to look past the obvious, to see a wonderful young man who loves school, never holds a grudge, loves the Simpsons and American Airlines. And if you ever get a chance to talk to him, he'll be glad to talk to you about it. But make no mistake, he has a terrible disability. He reads about the 4th grade level. He's never had a group of friends to play with. He'll never marry. And if he's like 75% of adults disabled or 95% of autistics, he'll never be offered a job. We learned that disabilities play no favorites. Traditional parents, single parents, rich people, poor people. And I have learned this. As a parent of a disabled child, we all share the same wish to live one day longer than our child. Just one day. And I've watched these kids grow up from the school system. Children with cerebral palsy, mental retardation, autism, all kinds of different disabilities. And I've watched them move through the school system. And what happens for most of these kids, they hit 21 and they're booted out of the school system and have to fend for themselves against those who are much better prepared. As a parent and as an employer, I know this to be true. They're unlikely able to drive, or may have limited access to transportation. They may not be as adaptable as we'd like them to be, or as flexible. They may have limits on hours. They may not learn the way we're used to teaching. They unlikely interview well, and they may even look different. Walgreens, the top 50 companies in the United States, 177,000 of us. If Walgreens can't do something, who can? If we can't, who can? They await us to discover their gifts. They await us to harness their abilities. They await us to value their contribution. Margaret Mead, a noted anthropologist, once said, and this is one of my favorite quotes, "Never doubt that a group of committed citizens working together can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." And no doubt, we face lots of challenges. How we'll develop the tools to be able to evaluate and screen. How we'll select people, where we'll find them, because most have given up. How we'll define the jobs, pay, fairness. We are committed to the success of this. For the past 3 years, over 100 men and women, full-time, have worked together in Romania, in Germany, in Austria, in the United States, and India to make this happen. And as we progress, we will share our tools and our learnings across our company. And when we're finished, we'll open the doors to the world to share our lessons and experiences. But the work is not yet done, and this is going to require the work of many hands. These hands are our hands. These hands are your hands. And these are the hands that may very well change the world. History and hope. History tells us that things will be what they've always been, and that the disabled will live at the margins of society and never hold down a job. But hope tells us that one day we'll seek out their gifts and welcome them as our own. In 2007, we opened the distribution center in Anderson, South Carolina. Since it opened, the percentage of persons with disabilities in the workforce there has been above our goal of 33%, and they work in all departments. The actual experience of Anderson has shown us that although we thought it was new technology that would make it possible, it's only part of the story. There's an old story, a tale of sorts, about war-torn Europe in times of scarcity. And a soldier comes into town asking for food, and he's turned away at every door. No, we don't have any. And after knocking on a lot of doors and being turned away, he makes an announcement in the town square, "No problem, I'll make stone soup." And he asks for a large pot in which to prepare this soup. So they give up this pot, he gathers all his firewood and starts the fire and the water boiling in the center. And people get kind of curious and they come in watching. And after it comes to a boil, he pulls this stone out of his pocket and throws it into the water and says, "This is going to be great soup. And matter of fact, there's going to be enough for the whole village, and I want to share, so I'm glad you're here with me." And after a bit, he takes a little sip of it and tastes it, and he says, "This is going to be the best soup ever. I think this is going to be perfect today." Now, the only thing that would make it a little bit better if we had just a touch of cabbage. And one of the villagers says, I think I can find some of that, and disappears and comes back with a bit of cabbage, and he adds it to the soup. And he tasted it a little while later and said, "Perhaps if we had some onions, because I really think that would add the spice that would make this perfect." Somebody goes to get the onions, and you can imagine it goes on and on. Then the tomatoes, and then all the celery, and all the other parts of the soup, and even a bit of beef. And in the end, he pulls the stone out and shares the soup with everybody. And for us, the technology was the stone. It wasn't the soup. It was everybody working together, and it was the belief that we could make it happen that made the soup and made Anderson a reality, not the technology. Now, what follows is a film we made in Anderson after we had been open for a while. And what better person to tell a story than those who actually experience it? Because what we found that surprised us, certainly we knew we would have an impact on those who have disabilities who may not otherwise be employed. We expected good things to happen from that. But what was unexpected and what is overwhelming is the positive impact it has had on everyone, including those without disabilities. But again, who better to tell that story than those people who work there every day in the Anderson DC?
It has nothing to do with people with disabilities or no disabilities. You just got to treat everybody the way you would like to be treated.
They have to treat you right. So they treat me right out here.
It's just different here. Everybody's real nice and cool about it, and they understand. So
I heard about this job, and I figured, it'd be something I want to do.
Feel at home a little bit more here than I have other places.
This is not about charity. We didn't lower any of our performance standards. Every team member is expected to perform at the same high level. Same pay, same performance, side by side.
And I said, "Mom and Dad, I want to work at Walgreens." And this is what I wanted. My heart, that's where my heart was. And since I come over here, I have fell in love with this place. I wouldn't trade this place for nothing.
I need to learn from this person. I need to take things from them. I may be the manager, but I'm learning here from my team members.
He walks and he talks in just a more positive way. I just know that he's gonna make it now.
If you want to be a productive adult, then this is where it starts at. You can make a life here at Walgreens. You can retire at Walgreens.
Every parent with a child with a special need or autism is their hope is to outlive their child by one day. And I don't have that fear anymore. I don't have that feel like I have to outlive him by one day anymore.
And of course, to give him this chance is just great for a lot of people, especially with special needs, to actually, like I said, basically come out, strive, be their own person, and not feel like they're held down by anything.
You run into people with all kind of different things here. It's kind of like a melting pot. Everybody just comes together, and it doesn't matter what's wrong with you.
He said, it's my first check, and I took it home. He said, my mother looked at it, and she started crying. Why do you think she did that? I said, I don't know. I don't know. But I knew, you know.
I like the job because of the people I work with and the friends that I've made.
Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursday, and Friday.
And I think he understands now, the difference between the work week and then the weekend.
Being happy. It's not a crime to be happy during the day. It's kind of nice.
Just the fact that he gets up every morning and he gets on that van without Mom taking him, and he gets here okay and walks in the door and he knows where he's supposed to go. He knows what his job is. He knows he's done it well, and he comes home, he feels good about himself every day.
The surprising thing is we started out wanting to change the workplace. What we found out was we were the ones who were changed.
And it's actually taught me more patience in my job responsibility here, working with all team members as far as learning my own patience. And it's kind of retaught me and made me rethink the way I approach things, even as far as my own family and kids and so forth now.
If we don't help each other, then it's a sad world. And I think that's what Walgreens is. We all here to help each other.
They're doing things they never dreamed that they would be able to do. But you know what? They're also doing things that they never dreamed they would be given the opportunity to do. And that's the most impressive thing to me as an individual, as what Walgreens is doing. Again, extending that opportunity. And that's precious.